Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. No, 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 oh my god, oh my god. The police found Daniel Carter standing in the middle of an empty road at 3:17 in the morning. He was barefoot, his hands were covered in blood, and he kept repeating the same sentence. Whatever you do, don't let the house hear your name. When the police asked him where he lived, Daniel pointed toward the woods. There was no house there. Not anymore. Because 3 hours earlier, the house had disappeared. 6 months earlier, Daniel Carter was looking for a fresh start. He had recently moved to a small town in Pennsylvania called Black Hollow. It was the kind of town where everyone knew everyone, and nobody talked about the abandoned house at the edge of town. Daniel didn't know that when he saw the house online. The price was unbelievably cheap. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, large backyard, and an enormous basement. The listing said, property sold as is. Daniel didn't care. He bought it. The previous owner, an old man named Walter, handed him the keys personally. But before Daniel left, Walter grabbed his arm. His face suddenly became serious. There's one thing you need to know. Daniel smiled. What? Walter looked toward the house. Don't say your full name inside the basement. Daniel laughed. Why? Walter didn't answer. He simply walked away. That night, Daniel unpacked until midnight. The house was strangely quiet, too quiet. At 2:13 a.m., he heard footsteps upstairs. Slow footsteps, 1, 2, 3. Daniel stopped breathing. He was alone. He checked every room, nothing. Then he heard something else, a woman's voice, very faint coming from downstairs. Daniel stopped breathing. Nobody in the town knew his name yet. He slowly walked toward the basement door. The voice came again. Daniel. He opened the door. A cold wind came from below. The basement was completely dark. Daniel switched on the light. Nothing. Then he noticed something strange. On the basement wall were dozens of names. Some were scratched into the concrete. Others were written in black paint. Daniel stepped closer. There were dates beside every name. 1,000, 932, 193, 319, 3419, 3519, 36, and the last name was dated only 3 years earlier. The next morning, Daniel went to the local library. He searched the town's newspaper archives. What he found made his stomach turn. Every name from the basement belonged to someone who had disappeared, and every disappearance was connected to the house. Children, teenagers, adults, even an entire family. The newspapers always reported the same thing: person missing. No evidence of foul play. But there was one detail Daniel couldn't explain. The people hadn't disappeared randomly. They had all disappeared after hearing someone call their name from the basement. Daniel closed the newspaper. He decided to sell the house. But that evening, something happened. His phone rang. The caller ID showed unknown. He answered. At first, there was only static. Then, he heard breathing. A woman's voice whispered, "You shouldn't have looked for us." Daniel dropped the phone. Then the basement door slammed shut. Daniel grabbed a flashlight. He opened the basement door. The temperature inside had dropped dramatically. He walked downstairs. The names on the wall were different. There were more of them, dozens more. Then he heard crying. A little girl was sitting in the corner. Daniel slowly approached her. "Are you okay?" She didn't move. "What are you doing down here?" The girl finally looked up. Her face was pale. Her eyes were completely black. She whispered, "Waiting for my mother." Daniel stepped backward. "When did you get here?" The girl pointed toward the wall. Daniel looked. Her name was there. Emily Harris, 1,989. Daniel's heart stopped. Emily. The girl smiled. Then she said, "You said my name." Every light in the basement went out. Daniel ran upstairs. He slammed the basement door and locked it. From behind the door, Emily began laughing. The following morning, Daniel noticed something impossible. The hallway was longer, much longer. The front door was 20 feet farther away than it had been the day before. The pictures on the walls had changed. Daniel looked at one photograph. It showed the house in 1974. Standing in front of it was a family, a father, a mother, 2 children. Daniel stared at the picture. Something felt familiar. Then he noticed the father. It was Walter. But Walter looked exactly the same. Not older, not younger. Exactly the same. Daniel immediately drove back into town. He found Walter sitting alone at a diner. Daniel slammed the photograph onto the table. "What is this?" Walter stared at it. Then he whispered, "You went into the basement." Daniel grabbed his shirt. "Tell me what that house is." Walter's eyes filled with tears. "That isn't a house." "What is it?" Walter looked directly at him. "It's a memory." Walter finally told Daniel the truth. The house had been built in 1931. The original owner had a daughter who died mysteriously. After her death, the father became obsessed with bringing her back. He spent years performing strange rituals inside the basement. Then one night, he disappeared. But the house remained, and something had awakened inside it, something that learned people's names. Walter told Daniel that every person who entered the basement became part of the house, their memories, their voices, their fears, everything. "Why didn't you destroy it?" Daniel asked. Walter looked down. "Because it doesn't let you leave." Daniel's face went pale. "But you left." Walter smiled sadly. "No." Daniel stared at him. Walter slowly lifted his sleeve. There were dozens of names carved into his arm. Then Walter whispered, "I'm still inside." Daniel rushed home. He packed everything he owned. He was leaving. He didn't care about the house anymore. He didn't care about the money. He just wanted to survive. He opened the front door and froze. Outside was not the street. It was the basement. The same concrete walls, the same names, the same darkness. Daniel slammed the door. He opened it again. Basement. He ran to the windows. Every window showed the same thing. The basement. Then his phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. A voice whispered, "Daniel." He recognized it. It was his own voice. "Who are you?" His own voice replied, "I'm you." Daniel dropped the phone. Then someone knocked on the basement door. 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. A voice whispered, "Daniel, open the door." He backed away. "No." The voice became louder. "Daniel Carter." Every light in the house exploded, and the basement door slowly opened by itself. Daniel walked downstairs. He didn't know why. Something was pulling him forward. At the bottom of the stairs was a door he had never seen before. He opened it. Inside was a room filled with photographs. Thousands of photographs. Every person who had ever disappeared. Daniel walked deeper into the room. Then he saw one photograph that made his blood run cold. It was a picture of him standing outside the house, but the photograph was dated. 1989. Daniel dropped it. Then he saw another. Himself in 2004. Another. Himself in 1974. Then another. 1932. He finally understood. The house wasn't predicting the future. It was showing him the past. because he had already been there. He just couldn't remember. A voice whispered behind him, "Welcome home, Daniel." He turned around. Walter was standing there, but he was no longer an old man. He was young, exactly the same age as Daniel. Walter smiled. "We've been waiting for you." Daniel ran. He ran through the basement, up the stairs, through the hallway, toward the front door. He opened it, and suddenly found himself standing in the middle of the road. It was 3:17 a.m. A police car stopped beside him. Two officers jumped out. Daniel fell to his knees. "Help me." The officers stared at him. One of them asked, "What's your name?" Daniel's face went white. He remembered Walter's warning. "Don't say your full name inside the basement." But he wasn't inside anymore. So he answered, "My name is Daniel Carter." The officers looked at each other. Then one of them slowly reached for his radio. "Dispatch, we found him." Daniel looked confused. "Found who?" The officer turned toward him. "You." Daniel's breathing stopped. "What do you mean?" The officer pulled out an old missing person photograph. It showed Daniel. Same face. Same clothes. Same age. The date underneath read, the 14th of October, 1989. Daniel screamed. The officer looked toward the woods, but there was no house, only an empty patch of land. Then, from somewhere deep inside the forest, Daniel heard a woman's voice. "Daniel." He turned around. The police officers were gone. The road was gone. Everything was gone. He was standing inside the basement again, and all around him, hundreds of voices began whispering his name. Daniel looked at the wall. A new name was slowly appearing. Daniel Carter, 2026. Then another name appeared underneath it. The letters formed one word, "Next." And somewhere above him, someone was opening the front door. A frightened voice whispered, "Hello, is anyone here?" Daniel closed his eyes, because he knew exactly what would happen next. The house had found its next victim, and this time, it had learned how to call their name. "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, no, 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 oh my God, oh my God."